You are listening to the Love and Money podcast with Shakira, and today I'm going to talk to you about evictions. So, as you know, as a result of the pandemic that started in March of last year, people were allowed to do mortgage forbearances where they didn't have to pay any rent whatsoever. And this was 1.7 million people in forbearance. Since then, this moratorium was set to expire. And as you know, that date was extended to October 3rd. This was for high risk areas, which includes 80% of the county. So October 3rd is the date. It still is the date. But since that time, some things have transpired. And so what happened recently is there's a lawsuit going on. And there are real estate groups and landlord groups that are suing the CDC, and they want to get rid of this ban. So they are fighting this ban that the CDC has implemented. So the end result is that it would have to go to the Supreme Court, and there are people fighting for and people fighting against. And so, what Biden essentially did with extending this date is he gave a 2 month breathing time for people who are struggling. However, essentially, it will be up to the Supreme Court to pass this. So at any time, they could say the evictions will go forth, or they could vote for it, or they could vote against it. So ultimately, it will be up to the Supreme Court. But what Biden did, like I said before, is he gave people a 2 month breathing room. So I did wanted to come in and let you know that there's a fight going on with this. And this is the real estate groups and the landlord groups who are fighting the CDC. They're filing lawsuits and they want this ban to end that the CDC has implemented. So just wanted you to be aware of that. If in fact that the evictions do happen as a result of what happens in the Supreme Court, it will result in the mortgage forbearance ending for millions of people. Like I said before, there are 1.7 million people in this mortgage forbearance. So, if the evictions did go through as the end result of the Supreme Court decision, it would result in 850,000 mortgage forbearances would expire between August and October. And so this would create a buyer's market where the buyers would have an upper hand, where they could buy these homes for prices that they desire to buy the price at. So currently we are in a seller's market where you can see that the prices of homes are expensive. They're like skyrocketing, and the seller has the upper hand. If the evictions go through, it would become a buyer's market where the buyer would have the upper hand and they could buy the house at a price that they consider more decent instead of paying the sky high prices that are currently existing right now. So they are estimating that if the evictions go through, there would be a total of 211,700 homes that will go on the market that are currently not on the market. When someone is faced with eviction, in this situation, they would have several different options. One would be to sell the home to prevent financial disaster. And another option would be to go through foreclosure. And since the foreclosure takes time, it would buy the person more time to be in their home to figure out what they what they want to do. So either selling the home for financial to prevent financial disaster or going through foreclosure. So these loans that are currently in forbearance, they are backed by the Federal Housing Administration. And instead of Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, they're backed by the Federal Housing Administration, otherwise known as FHA. And so people who have these FHA loans, they are more vulnerable since the FHA are the loans that are under mortgage forbearance. You see what I'm saying? So if you have an FHA loan, then you're allowed to have a mortgage forbearance. These are the people that have this kind of forbearance. And so they have uh, estimated the people who are the highest, the people who have these FHA loans. They know who they are, what areas they live in. And so the people with the highest FHA loans, they live in Atlanta. So they're considering this population to be the most vulnerable. And then second to Atlanta is Houston and Chicago. They would have the secondary highest FHA loans. So this is what's currently going on with the evictions. There's this fight going on between the landlord groups, the real estate groups versus the CDC. They want this ban to be over with. So ultimately it is up to the Supreme Court. And if you're in this situation or you know somebody that's in this situation, October 3rd is still the date. But since the fight is going on, the date could be changed to sooner. So if you know someone that's in this situation, or if you're in this situation yourself, there is something that you can do, and you can contact your local housing authority and figure out how to fill out a rental assistance agreement. Because if in the event that you do become evicted or someone you know does become evicted and they end up in court in front of the judge, if the judge sees your rental assistance agreement, then he's not going to evict you. So there is something that you can do. So right now there is a toss up with this date. The date could be sooner than October 3rd because of a lawsuit. It could stay at October 3rd, or the date could be extended. The date has been extended several times. So this is what's going on with the evictions, the moratorium, the mortgage forbearance. And like I said, there are 1.7 million people in this situation. So if you're in this situation or you know someone that's in the situation, there are 1.7 other million people in the same situation. And there is something that you can do. Contact your local housing authority. And like I said before, this date has been extended several times. So there is a possibility that it can be extended again. But ultimately, we are waiting on the decision of the Supreme Court to see what will happen. The people in the Supreme Court will be voting either for or against. And so this is what's going on with the evictions, an update. So this is a Love and Money podcast with Shakira. If you like this podcast, please share it with one other person. And please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the algorithm. Thank you for listening.